And through the melt process, especially like going back into the memories and everything, that's really when it started to click.
Yeah.
And ever since like applying that to my life and prayer and everything going through it, it's been night and day, like a night and day difference. Just a sense of peace and calm, like from surrendering your heart to Jesus. It's just, yeah, it's hard to describe, but like it's definitely awesome.
Welcome back to the CrossCounsel podcast. I'm excited to introduce to you Bob Jackson. He's relatively new to CrossCounsel, and like many people, he was referred to us by someone whose own life is being changed through what the Lord is doing in this ministry. During one of his recent sessions, we simply started talking about what the Lord had been doing in his life. Bob was so grateful and so excited about the changes he was experiencing that he really didn't feel the need to dive back into the process that day. I always love moments like that. It's one thing to receive encouragement, insight, or even good biblical counsel. Those things all have tremendous value. But it's another thing entirely to watch the Lord transform a person from the inside out, in their heart, in a way that can only be attributed to the Spirit's work. Our conversation was so good that I asked Bob if he would be willing to pause, start over, and let us record it so we could share it with all of you. I love the fact that there was no script, no preparation, no advance notice. What you're about to hear is simply one believer talking honestly about what Jesus has been doing in his heart. As I listened back through the conversation, one phrase stood out because Bob says it more than once. He describes the change as night and day. I love that because those are his words, not mine. You'll also notice something else. Bob doesn't spend a whole lot of time talking about CrossCounsel. He doesn't spend much time talking about me, and he doesn't even spend much time talking about the process. He keeps coming back to Jesus. He keeps talking about surrender. He keeps talking about peace and about prayer becoming his first response instead of his last resort. That's exactly what we hope happens. CrossCounsel has never been about helping people become dependent on a ministry. It's about helping people become increasingly dependent upon Christ and to walk in obedience to him. Before we jump into the conversation, though, I want to explain one reference you'll hear later. At one point, Bob makes a quick reference to what he calls my bowling ball illustration. It goes by quickly and is easy to miss. Anyway, it made me smile because I remembered sharing that picture with him and many others. And as I've continued thinking about it, I actually thought up a different illustration. Instead of saying a bowling ball with skin on, I'd probably say a cannonball with skin on, because there's no holes in a cannonball. If you thought I was weird before, that might confirm it, but let me explain. One of the things that has fascinated me for years is the incarnation. Not simply that God became man, but what Jesus' humanity teaches us about our own. As you read the Gospels, it's remarkable how difficult Jesus was to manipulate. The Pharisees constantly tried to trap him with loaded questions. People questioned his authority. They accused him of blasphemy. They called him demon-possessed. Crowds tried to make him king. They thought that's what the Messiah would look like. Other crowds demanded miracles, and people expected him to heal everyone, feed everyone, solve every problem, and meet every expectation. His own disciples regularly misunderstood him. Peter actually tried to convince him not to go to the cross. And yet Jesus was never manipulated by any of it. He wasn't driven by guilt or controlled by fear. He didn't need to prove himself. He wasn't desperate for approval. He wasn't crushed by rejection. He didn't rescue everyone simply because people demanded it. Sometimes he healed. Sometimes he walked away. Sometimes he answered a question with another question. Sometimes he said nothing at all. Why? Because there wasn't a single place in his heart where a lie had taken root. Think about that. One of the most beautiful passages in Scripture is Philippians chapter 2. Paul tells us that although Christ existed in the very form of God, he emptied himself, taking the form of a servant and being born in human likeness. Theologians often call this the kenosis, Christ's self-emptying. He didn't stop being God. He willingly entered our humanity. He chose to become one of us. He chose to put skin on. He chose hunger, fatigue, grief, rejection, betrayal, physical suffering, and ultimately the cross. He didn't observe humanity from a distance. He entered it completely. That's what I mean by a cannonball with skin on. I know, very weird. But please humor me and picture a cannonball wrapped in living skin. The skin is important because it reminds us that Jesus didn't merely appear human. He became fully human. Every arrow struck real skin. He truly felt hunger, grief, betrayal, exhaustion, rejection, and physical suffering. But beneath that skin was a perfectly solid core. Now compare that to us. We all have skin. We all experience life. We all feel truth-based pain. But what is beneath the skin often differs from place to place within our hearts. In one area, we may be like a grape. The slightest criticism or rejection bursts something inside of us because a lie is already waiting there to be triggered. In another area in our hearts, we may be more like a peach or an orange. There is greater resilience than a grape, but the arrow still penetrates deeply. I know, weird, but maybe close to what's reality. As Christ renews our hearts, those places become stronger. Lies are replaced with truth. The heart becomes increasingly established in Christ and established in his love that always travels with truth. But Jesus stands alone. Nothing beneath his skin was brittle, weak, or fragile. No vulnerable place where deception had ever taken root. His entire heart was like a cannonball beneath living skin. The heart of Jesus is tender, but it's not weak. His skin represents his true humanity. Every arrow the world and the enemy fired him struck real skin. He experienced every truth-based pain that belongs to being human. He wept. He grieved. He agonized. He suffered. But every arrow only penetrated as deeply as the actual circumstance, only as deeply as truth allowed it to. Some arrows were relatively light. Others were more significant, like his grief over Jerusalem, or in the wilderness and being tested there by the enemy. The most significant and weighty arrows were in Gethsemane and ultimately Calvary. Those were more like a hollow point bullet, trying to rip away all his skin as Jesus experienced the deepest truth-based pain a human being could ever imagine, and then some. So no arrow, no accusation, no temptation, no betrayal ever touched his identity. Nothing ever compromised who he knew himself to be. Satan found nothing in him that deception could attach itself to. Now compare that to us. We experience many of those same truth-based pains. We experience rejection, loss, grief, disappointment, loneliness, betrayal. Those things genuinely hurt. Here's the difference. Those events often strike places in our hearts where lies have existed for a long time. Many of them established long before we reached our teenage years. Those lies didn't begin in that moment. The event simply exposed them. Maybe the lie is, I'm alone. I'm not enough. I don't matter. I'm defective. I'm unacceptable. I'm bad. I'm guilty. Even if you're not guilty. Here's a helpful way to think about it. If Jesus could truthfully say it, it's probably not a core lie. Jesus could say, they rejected me. They abandoned me. They misunderstood me. They hated me. Those statements were true, but he never concluded, I don't matter. I'm unacceptable. I'm alone. That's where we so often move from our truth-based pain into lie-based pain. Those existing falsehoods and lies immediately become the lens through which we interpret the event. They shape the emotions that rise within us. And those emotions often drive the reactions that follow, as quickly as a millisecond at times. That's why two people can experience nearly the same event and respond so differently. The event isn't the whole story. The condition of the heart matters. That's why I often say that Jesus experienced every truth-based pain available to humanity, but none of the lie-based pain that so often becomes attached to ours. The beautiful work of Christ isn't making us less human. It isn't teaching us not to feel. It's giving us opportunity to come into a deeper agreement with Jesus in our hearts. It's exposing those places where we bought into those distortions and owning the fact that we are still carrying them. When we surrender to the only one who can replace them with truth in our hearts, things change. Things really change. As that happens, we don't stop experiencing truth-based pain. We simply experience less and less lie-based pain. We become less driven by fear, less driven by shame, less driven by self-protection, and more free to respond the way Jesus responded. As you listen to Bob's story, I hope you'll notice that progression. He doesn't simply describe learning a better way to think. He describes surrendering more of his heart to Jesus. He describes peace. He describes prayer. He describes what he calls a night and day difference. That's my prayer for every person who comes to CrossCounsel. Not simply that they would gain information, but they would increasingly know Christ and experience his transforming work in the deepest places of their hearts. And by the way, I'm still on that journey myself. I hope you enjoy the conversation. So, Bob, you're fairly new to CrossCounsel, but so far, how are things going for you?
Things are going very, very well. So yeah, just very, very glad to have done this.
What are you seeing changing in your life?
The biggest thing that I've seen change in my life is the sense of peace. Since the biggest thing is like from what I was doing was, long story short, just I wasn't surrendering my life to Jesus. It was the self-preservation thing. I was letting scenarios that could happen, think they might happen, and then just let that goad me into getting into like arguments in my head with myself and like as a way of protecting myself. And since learning through CrossCounsel about how that was like a tactic that we do to prevent from hurting ourselves, that really struck my heart. And through the melt process, especially like going back into the memories and everything, that's really when it started to click.
Yeah.
And ever since like applying that to my life and prayer and everything going through it, it's been night and day, like a night and day difference. Just a sense of peace and calm, like from surrendering your heart to Jesus. It's just, yeah, it's hard to describe, but like it's definitely awesome.
That's cool. Do you have any recollection of like one of the places where it felt so peaceful when you chose to go to the pain, identify the lie, and then allow the Lord to do the heavy lifting, the mending in your heart?
Yep. Two of them. The first session was when I really felt that would have been going back to the memory of like just kind of like just never feeling like I was anybody's like number one, like going through like relationships that didn't work out, back into like the memories of like our parents and stuff, and all the way back to grade school, like how going working back to that, and just praying on like what it was, and then asking like the Lord to like guide you to like what's a word to describe how you feel, and like I don't even think it was me that thought of it, like it felt put into my head, but the word alone,
Mm-hmm.
uh, just I cannot describe like how that came into my head, but it was crazy. Like it's just like it hit, like it just my heart, like my whole body just felt. I mean, like lack of a better word, but like kind of crazy. Like the energy was just like wow.
Yeah.
But and then yeah, like after like just that's the moment where it really started to like turn was after we prayed to allow like Jesus to come in and to help that young boy like knowing you're not alone. Like I mean, like Jesus right there. It's almost like feeling, and like ever since then, like and then going through the second session, the one about the memory with my dad, just shutting down emotionally and just not really knowing what or not knowing the truth that there's nothing that I can do in like certain situations. Like I'm not gonna always have the answers and be perfect, and then like letting the Lord into that.
Mm-hmm.
That I don't have to feel like the sense of pressure that like I have to fix things, or like that I can or I have to be enough.
Mm-hmm.
And just sense those, like just asking the Lord to come into my heart and realize that like once I surrender those to him, that is what's made everything like night and day. Like it's made me more like attuned, I think, to like spiritual warfare, to like not hear those lies and just yeah, it's crazy. Like yeah, like night and day.
That's what we like to hear.
Mm.
What you didn't say is, oh my gosh, Steve gave me these great words of wisdom, and I just started thinking about them and trying to apply them to my life. Like, hopefully, I have some words of wisdom, but that's not transformational. Like, we can't transfer transformation.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, because well, I mean, definitely have wise words. I mean, like the anecdotes that you give, like the bowling ball one, that was good. Like, I mean, it's practical knowledge. It makes sense, but yeah, it's like the main thing I took away from CrossCounsel, like definitely like from these like sessions is it's just I say this like with Jesus, it's like I can't really like describe the feeling really.
Mm,
Like it's like it's more of like a feel at peace, like in presence. And it's just like I find myself just like every like now, even like from the day to day, it's like it's not like I remember what we talk about, but it's more so like when something does come up, like the first thing I do is pray.
mm.
Like that's the sense that I take away because it's like it's like I feel like it's like the connection with God, like the sense of peace. Like it's great to learn the tools and the stuff that we go through and like it makes sense of practicality, but it's like I feel like the best thing is like I'm it's encouraging me more to chase God, like to surrender to Him.
Wow,
That's the main thing I'm taking away from this.
that's so cool. So it makes me think of Proverbs 3, 5, and 6, which I've heard ever since I was in high school, probably even junior high. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways, submit to him, and he will make your paths straight. It lines up. Like you start to put your trust in the Lord with all your heart. Now, I don't know if any of us put all of our trust in in the
Yeah.
Lord, if our whole heart. But I think it's pointing us in the right direction. That should be our goal to get to a point where, because we've allowed the love and truth of the Lord to penetrate those deep places in our heart, that trust is just natural. It's automatic.
Mm,
And that idea that in all your ways submit to Him. It's just I really like the idea of Christ being central in our lives more than first. I just like the verbiage of that better because in all
mm,
your ways, there's just not a prioritized thing. It's like He's the hub of everything that we do, whether we're at work, whether it's relationships, whether it's family, whatever that is, whether it's um, in whatever hobby that we do, that it's still central, that the Lord is
mm,
central to everything we do, everything that we touch. And it's not this magical thing as if you do this, then you'll just get this, but it just aligns so much better in our lives when we operate the way that He has set out for us to operate in following Him. And that could be a little gray at times, of course, but
mm,
just continuing to lean into Him and getting rid of some of that. Where I'm kind of going is to get on the right frequency. So whatever the garbage is that gets in the way of being tuned into Him makes
mm.
everything so much better.
Yeah.
It's just awesome how I've known that or heard that verse for almost 50 years, and it's becoming alive in a new way to me now.
Yeah. Yep.
So cool.
That's like when you're praying that too, it's like it reminds me we were talking about earlier today was like the older you get and stuff, it's like I'm starting to like sense like leaning on your understanding. It's just it's making more sense now. 'Cause even when I like talk with my family and stuff now, it's like it's not from like a sense of well not contention, but like a sense of like, it's just like you kind of like anxious, how it's gonna go to now it's just like I wherever it goes, like it's just like outpouring of love. It's like it's an actually like a thing that like I feel like I want like not only to be like plugged into the conversation, like actually hear and listen, but like it's like no, like now it's like whatever the outcome, like now it's like I want to like point it to God.
Mm,
Like how can this like like you said like central, but like how can it be pointed to? Like because that's the thing that's like become apparent. It's like that's he's the only thing that's going to call it like real change and yeah, real love, real change, like real like that's yeah.
very
But
cool.
yeah.
Yeah. So welcome to this journey.
Oh.
It's such a different ride than just, okay, I'm just trying to just do the right thing or just try harder.
Hmm.
The idea of, wow, how deeply God's love and mercy and grace can change us from the inside out.
Yep.
He
Yeah.
doesn't want us living with poor programming.
Yeah.
The world is the universe is not out to help you. The universe is out to kill you, I think. So
Yeah.
you need to be saved from that. Cool. Anything else you want to say?
No, I guess like if it's I don't know if this will help. I mean, I had this like thought this weekend about like childlike faith when Jesus said like faith like a child like to enter the kingdom of God. And part of me was wondering, it's like some people I know, like when I was like growing up, it was like a childlike faith meant you just don't question anything ever. Like, it's just like, oh, you just believe in Jesus, like no questions, like you can't doubt, like it's just like a child with their parent. But it's like I think from like what I'm starting to kind of think is like a childlike faith to me, and I don't know if I was right or not, but like it's kind of meaning it's just like when it comes to surrendering things to Jesus, right? I think of it more as like we just come to the realization that we can't really do anything without him.
Mm.
Like, and it's just that's thinking out loud. But I mean, it's just kind of like even waking up in the morning, like I mean, it's just kind of like, well, we need Jesus. Like, I mean, to like change anything, to really do anything in our life of like meaning or value, like what we do, like it's like a child depending on their parent. It's like we need him.
Right.
But yeah.
Sweet. Thanks for allowing me to put you on the spot. That was great.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Thank you for listening to the CrossCounsel podcast. We invite you to visit crosscounsel.com to learn more about genuine healing and becoming a more useful instrument in God's kingdom purposes. Be sure to like, subscribe, rate, and share this podcast. It helps others discover the same potential for hope and healing found only in Jesus. Again, thank you for listening.